We have to go to policy now. What makes you such a great mayor? I mean, we have to do that now, right?
I like the way you
explain, we have some people from out of town that are here. Can you explain that today is probably one of the busiest days ever to ride in New York City, because we as
hard to get around.
New Yorkers that have been here for a long time know that UN week is the week where you stay on the West Side or don't come into the city at all.
That's right.
But you combine Donald Trump being president of the United States, I mean, how much is this costing the city?
Well, it costs quite a bit, but I have to tell you, we're honored to host the United Nations here on behalf of our country and the whole world. And we have the finest police force in the country, the NYPD, that allows us to make this work every single year. Yeah. And Joe, you paid close attention to this right now because of the extraordinary work of the NYPD and people all across the city. We're the safest big city in America.
It's unbelievable.
Safest big city in America. And so we have these big events. We know how to handle them. Yeah. We know how to handle them.
How much of a challenge, and I understand the president has not been in New York as much.
Yes.
I know the transition was, I stopped that.
That's not a laugh line.
That was a driver. That was a driver. That was nonpartisan. That's just someone who drives.
The president is saving us a lot of money, and I'm serious, by going to Jersey instead.
Does indeed.
Because it's impossible to get around this city when he is here. Have you all had conversations about him staying out of Manhattan for the... Again,
say yes.
I'm actually saying for the good of Manhattan and for the good of the people, residents who ride around.
Not an applause line.
I'm going to give you a shocking nonpartisan moment.
Yeah.
I have actually defended the president's right to go where he feels he needs to go. That this is his home city. I have huge differences with him on policy, but it's his home city. And I've said if he feels the need to come here sometimes to connect with the place he grew up, he has that right. Now, to his credit, a sentence I don't usually use with the president, but to his credit, he has chosen to stay out of the city because he knows how much disruption it will
He knows he gets booed everywhere he goes if he comes back.
That could be part of it, too.
No. I mean, I do want to say this, and Nicole, you with all the problems you have with the president, I'm sure you appreciate also the fact that he goes to Bedminster instead of coming here, because he has said, when I go to my home, it disrupts Midtown Manhattan, and it does. It's impossible to get around here.
When George Bush came for this week, and there were a lot of people in this city and world leaders that had their own problems with George Bush, he didn't move around. So he had, and that wasn't, because he expected people to come to him, but that was to not create more motorcades and more movements to jam up the city. So presidents are usually made aware, not because they're personally inconvenienced, but by their staff, of just how much it jams up the city.
I was making a joke, but I do think what was interesting, last time he was here, and I happened to be right near Trump Tower, and they had the big rat up there, and people were booing. It was like an angry mob, and for a guy that we know his psyche is all about being loved and goes to places where he's going to be cheered, I do think he's less prone to come back to the city because he is not coming back as a conquering hero. He's coming back, at least in Manhattan, as a loathed figure right now, and I think that does play into it.
He doesn't hear the boos up on the whatever.
Well, when he gets out, I do think that has something to do with it.
Good.
Mr. Mayor, you're running obviously for re-election, running for another term. Yesterday, you got the endorsement of the state's governor. Andrew Cuomo came out. I won't call it a flowery endorsement, but it was an endorsement. He said during an interview, quote, "The mayor won the Democratic primary. I am a Democrat. I support Democrats."
I like the robotic voice. That's very good, Willie.
So it reads almost like a Robert Frost poem. I'm tearing up.
Minimalism.
Basically saying, I'm a Democrat, so I will support the Democratic nominee. What's your reaction to his endorsement? I don't know if you read the tabloids, but apparently you two have a bit of a strained relationship.
Yeah, and look, that is over real issues, real differences about how we govern. And that's what I care about, not the politics. I think in the end, the political relationship is a lot less important than what he's doing for New York City or not in the interest of New York City. Ed Koch had a great saying that I live by. If a governor helps New York City, stand by him, support him, praise him. If a governor does something that hurts New Yorkers, take him on. And that's the reality. I represent 8.5 million people. If we were a state, we'd be the 12th largest state in the country by population. I got 8.5 million people to look out for. So, you know what?
What has he done that's not been in the best interest of New York City?
Look, and I'd say it's been a balance. We just had a big fight up in Albany over mayoral control of education, which is something I think is absolutely necessary to move all school systems forward. It's been essential. By the way, New York City, highest graduation rate in our history because of mayoral control of education and other important factors. So he was very helpful on that. On other things, I've seen him take away resources from New York City and undercut our efforts to create a fairer city. So look, we call him like we see him. That's the way I think of it.
So Nicole, let's go from
President
city
UN.
politics to national politics. We've been talking about, obviously, all of us have been talking about the Republican Party, you and I specifically, about the problems with the Republican Party, a Republican Party that oftentimes we don't recognize anymore. I left the Republican Party to be an independent. I think you're just barely hanging on by your
Not a practicing
hall.
Republican.
I think one of the most fascinating things, though, is...
That's a great phrase.
What do you
I've never heard
Said I'm not a
She's a-
practicing.
You're not a practicing Republican in name only.
It's wonderful.
But even in these terrible times, we would say, for the Republican Party, it seems the Democratic Party is doing even worse. Are we seeing the end, the 150-year end of what John Meacham calls the longest duopoly in political history?
Yeah, I mean, we might be, and I was listening with great interest when you were talking to Governor Rendell and Harold Ford about the Democratic Party's problems in sort of reaching out to what used to be their base, working class voters. As you both know, I went out my penance post-election for getting it wrong, like many people that do what I do, was to spend 3 months basically embedded with Democrats that have voted for Donald Trump, people who'd voted for Obama twice.
And what did you find?
Well, first of all, I found that I was the first one to call them and ask them why. So these were union leaders in Erie, PA, that hadn't heard from any national Democrats or statewide Democrats
Still
yet.
haven't.
Still haven't.
Oh.
These were union leaders in Bay City, Michigan, who had voted for. They were on the Democratic voter roll. I mean, they had walked precincts for Democrats. They were Bill Clinton voters if they were old enough. They were two-time Obama voters, so they weren't part of that hard right base that's animated by the white nationalists.
Right.
Straight. You know, these were Democrats through and through.
And by the way, what comfort that must be for certain Democrats to say the only reason Hillary Clinton lost was because Americans are misogynists and because they're racist. When you have the same people that voted for Barack Obama twice,
right.
And Joe, that's
voting for Donald
Trump. This troubles me because anytime you hear Democrats denigrating Trump voters, they're missing the point entirely. If working class people felt alienated from the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party had not spoken to their needs and not delivered for them, by the way, that's logical to feel alienated from someone who doesn't take care of your needs.
And to be fair, they felt alienated from people like us in the Republican Party,
Right.
too. I mean,
Both
Donald
parties.
Trump won because he didn't talk like a Republican, he didn't talk like a
he
Democrat.
blew up both parties.
Right.
That's what's changed
And
now.
they said he talks like me. I mean, they liked that he wasn't an elite. And what they rejected was the fact that the kids of Republicans, the kids of Democrats, and the kids of elite journalists all went to the same swanky private schools, and that we had all sort of, drifted away in our own little bubble of elites. It was really about class and elitism, and I think that to put some of this on Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, it was about a Republican Party espousing policies on free trade and other things that had nothing to do with their lives.
Do you remember 2004, George W. Bush would have, all he had was a W. And I would actually drive around and I would see that W and I would laugh. And people go, what are you laughing at? I said, that W is a middle finger to elites.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying, to elites. I'm putting this on my car and they're saying, I won't say the word, something media, academics, Washington, D.C., you call me stupid? I'll tell you what, and this is really, I was saying this in 2004, you call me stupid, I'll put another W on there. And by the way, I'm saying that as a guy that was really harsh to George W. For most of his presidency, as you know. But there is such a cultural divide for so many people. It's not so much about voting for George W. twice or voting for Donald Trump twice. It's being called stupid.
Exactly.
And having people sneering and looking down, whether it's, on shows like this, or whether it's in movie theater, or whether it's on college campuses.
Yeah, and I don't think the Democrats are lost because of issues. They're lost because they don't have any transformative figures. What Donald Trump has reset now is, I don't think the two-party system is that you can't just be a lame politician anymore. And I think going forward, whether we see The Rock running for president or we see a former school teacher, is we don't want politicians to look, act, talk like politicians. See what Paul Ryan looks like, see what Mitch McConnell looks like. That's not what we want anymore. Even do you see what, I'll name 5 Democrats, not this guy right here. But that is the message going forward. We live in a different age, and the heroin we've gotten is whether you love or hate Donald Trump, that's a show you want to see every day.
He's exposed.
And the Democrats better come up with somebody who's a show that you want to see every day.
As the mayor of a city of 8.5 million people, you have to pull together all these different groups as well, different races, religions, socioeconomic, 5 different boroughs that are 5 very different places. Yep. What is your advice, or what lessons did you learn from Hillary Clinton's loss that the party can take going forward?
Yeah. First of all, you respect the voters. I think Joe's point is right on the money. People are alienated because they have not been able to move forward economically, and they don't think their children have a better future than they had. And that was the essence of the American dream and the middle class experience. So Democrats have to take responsibility for that too, and talk to people and listen to them, exactly as Nicole did. By the way, I think my argument would be Chuck Schumer's new vision that he put forward for the party starts us on a better road. I don't think
he can't be the messenger. I mean,
He's
I don't
the
disagree.
messenger.
People don't vote for messages, they vote for people.
But I want to argue that. I think messages matter a lot, too. I think
if that was the case, Hillary Clinton would be the president
well,
right now.
I don't know what the message
I don't think
was.
she put the message forward.
Messenger
I don't think she put the message forward.
She didn't have a message.
It was Stronger Together or something.
Right, which was not ultimately the message that mattered to people in their everyday life. So it is respecting the voters. Voters are a heck of a lot more discerning than they get credit for.
They are.
And you've run for office, you know it, Joe.
Right.
They listen,
Obviously
they watch, they learn.
Right.
Well, maybe not in that part of Florida, but in the rest of the country, voters are very discerning. But what I think it comes down to is saying we want to address your economic challenges. We want to address the fact that people feel stuck. Here are real things that will change it, and go out to people, including people, this is what I learned, go places where you may not be loved, and have the discussion.
Step outside your comfort
that was
zone.
the secret. And by the way, we're talking about messages, and we're talking about messengers.
I feel like we're talking about
a lot of it has to do with just hard work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Knocking on doors. Barack Obama, after the election, said something that actually politicians who actually haven't been in a bubble their whole life say. He said, we would go to counties in Iowa where I was down 50%.
Right.
That's right.
I knew I wasn't going to win. But if we could only lose it by 20%,
it would help.
then we're plus 30% in that county. You go, like you said, go where you aren't comfortable. Go to places where you're not going to win.
That's right.
And make them think twice.
Make the case. You said something on this show a while back that just grabbed me. You said a lot of your panelists had been to Paris more than they've been to Staten Island. I'll never forget when you said that.
Every one of them.
Right, and so I'll tell you something.
No, I'm serious.
I'll give you my own example. I don't usually do that well politically on Staten Island, but I keep going back.
Yeah.
Because you want to talk to people, and you want to show them the government can work for them. Their cynicism and skepticism is well earned. They have seen too many times when government didn't perform what it was supposed to. You go out, you show people you mean it, and you show them something that actually worked, and they'll start to listen.
Yeah.
Because the voters, ultimately, this is about their lives. They can't afford to be closed-minded. They know it. They're listening, and those Democrats, Obama, Trump, they can come back.
Before we have to go, can I congratulate you guys and thank you guys for 10 years?
Yes.
The most important and best political conversation.
Thank you so much.
Another great conversation. Mayor Bill de Blasio, thank you.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.